Hello and welcome to Zerocarbonista, Series 6, The Cow in the Room. I'm Ian Collins, your number one go-to environment-based podcast. If it's green, it is in. Welcome to 2025, Dale. This is a kind of a pre-episode before we get going properly next week. We thought it was an idea to look back at 5 of the big stories of 2024. That year is just behind us. I think it would make perfect sense, of course, to start with this.
We did it! A changed Labour Party, ready to serve our country, ready to restore Britain to the service of working people.
There it is, Dale. You supported them, you donated, you campaigned, and you have done for years. Labour, your party, won the general election.
Yeah, Christmas went and come early, didn't it? In July. I mean, the election itself was early, which caused all kinds of kind of scrambling around and problems momentarily. But we got the outcome. It was super important. The Tories tried to buy the election. They doubled spending limits. They brought in voter ID rules to prevent millions of people that don't tend to vote Tory from being able to vote at all. And despite all of that, because we were all so fed up with 15 years of Tory misrule, we booted them out, and here we go.
Do you think has it done in the first sort of 6 months what you wanted it to do? How what if you were marking their homework? How is Starmer and co doing?
I would say if you look at it, by department in terms of like a school report, I'd say DESNI's doing very well. They got off to an early start, unbanned onshore wind, and they did a bunch of good stuff. There's consultation, not quite concluded in terms of deeper planning reform. I think that's good. Angie Rayner's department, I'm not sure what it is, Deputy Prime Minister, it certainly covers planning and housing. A brilliant early start, changing the rules on planning consent, overturning some of the decisions that were blocking major projects, called a bunch of stuff in, as DESNI's have as well. Actually, they've unblocked big solar projects. So I'd say both those departments probably ahead of the pack. I'm less familiar with the other departments. I thought the budget was good, actually. I thought Labour's first budget, I would have had it earlier. There was a vacuum while we waited for it. But there's a 40 billion rabbit pulled out of the hat, while 90% of people weren't worse off. I mean, that was an incredible feat, I think, from Rachel Reeves. So those 3 departments are doing really well, I would say. I'm less keen on carbon capture and storage funding and nuclear funding, which is coming out of DESNI's. But there's not a lot to complain about.
Yeah. So, and 2025, I mean, there's a sense that Labour apparently, there were some headlines that weren't to everybody's cup of tea, whether it was about winter fuel, whether it was about farmers, whatever. I know you have different views on those, but part of the thinking apparently for Starmer's administration was to, get the bad shit out the way first, and then concentrate on running the place, getting growth, and making sure the next 4 years are positive.
Yeah, I think they could have done more, actually. I think they have a huge mandate, certainly in terms of majority as well as vote share. It's huge, and the country was completely fed up and wanted change. They could have reformed the tax system. They could have raised another 40 billion if they'd have just made tax more fair. They did move on inheritance tax with farmers, and it got a lot of flack because the right-wing media kind of stirred it up. But in essence, all that's happened is the closing of a loophole whereby farmers didn't pay inheritance tax like we all do, but still they got a trebled threshold before they're due to pay the tax. And when they do pay the tax, they pay it at half the rate of everybody else. So they all took to the streets in their £250,000 tractors to protest. I mean, come on, guys.
Let's move to this story then, Dale. Interesting, 2024 and clearly challenging. First year to breach the 1.5 degree threshold. That was a significant headline and not one you wanted to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's come 10 years early, actually. It was forecast, but not right now. And that is a bit of a shocker. We appear to be on course for 3 degrees of global warming, which is right in the danger territory, the territory within which there are all kinds of unknowns, and we don't know how bad it could get. In the same year, renewables generation in Britain overtook fossil fuels for the first time ever as a proportion of national production generation. That was a good thing. And China are storming ahead in their targets. And I think they're predicted this year in 2025 to hit actually, what do you call it? Their emissions will have peaked. So their emissions of carbon will stop growing this year, which is a really big deal. A country of 1.1 billion people. And of course, the kind of manufacturing engine room of the planet when it comes to renewable energy technology.
Number 3 on the list, UK phases out coal-fired power stations.
Yeah.
Precisely what you've been campaigning for, exactly what you wanted to see.
Yeah, it's in a way it's a small thing because we had virtually nothing left, but in a way it's a big thing as well because it's kind of like it's a watershed moment. We've stopped burning coal. For fuck's sake, it's the 21st century and we've just stopped burning coal to make electricity. I mean, come on, you got to laugh at that, but I'm happy that it happened.
Do we not? We don't need a bit of coal, like you often hear people say, keep a little bit in the back burner. It's a kind of phrase, just in case it all goes tits up.
No,
The windmills don't turn, the sun don't shine. Like you've never heard these arguments before, Dale.
that's
None
right.
of that happens. So what you're going to do? You
Yeah.
got to get your shovel out and dig some coal. Get it in
Yeah,
the old
no.
kiln or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, no, definitely not. We've got gas for that while we make this transition to 100% renewables and actually to the smart grid, which is how we'll ensure that we keep the lights on when the wind fluctuates, when the sun doesn't shine, like at nighttime, for example, and all that kind of stuff. We, as you say, these are not new issues and we have ways to deal with them. That's called the smart grid. That's coming. And as we transition, we've got gas to burn, which is much, much cleaner than coal.
Is the theory, I can't remember what the number was it 40 million solar panels by 2035? Miliband wants to have in place, kind of east Lincolnshire to Wales, down into the southwest as well. Of course, storage has always been the big question mark. Do you think the theory then, Dale, is that by the time we get to 2035, the whole storage thing will be sorted out?
Well, it's definitely storage has got a part to play in this, but the smart grid is a system of real-time balancing between demand, and smart meters in homes help us do this because we know exactly what's being used. But we balance demand in real time with generation, and storage is a key part of filling in the gaps. And there'll be times of the day when houses, because many of them will be equipped with their own solar panels, there'll be a time when they have more energy than they need and they can give to the grid. And there'll be a time when the grid has more energy than it needs and they can give to houses to put into their batteries. And those batteries can also give back to the grid. So we're all going to become interdependent with the grid, not independent from it and not dependent on it, but interdependent, giving and taking. And then at the same time, to get to 100% green energy on the grid, we've got to oversize the generation fleet to minimize the times of not enough, which means we'll create many more times of having too much. And instead of switching off wind farms like we do now, I think it cost us £1 billion last year to do that, which is madness. We can turn that into hydrogen, and with the hydrogen, we can either choose to put it into the gas grid, which can take 20% hydrogen now with no adjustments to anything anywhere, or we can hold it and we can turn it back into power for the times when the sun doesn't shine, for example. So hydrogen could be a great form of storage made from excess green electricity when the wind blows too much, which it can do.
Well, on that point, number 4 on the list, looking back, wind and solar electricity grew to an all-time high in the first half of last year, in the first half of 2024. I mean, that would be seen as hugely significant because it's never happened before.
Yeah, that's right. And by the end of the year, it had overtaken fossil fuels on the grid in our country for an entire year. So little by little, it's been creating these kind of benchmarks, overtaking nuclear a while ago and that kind of stuff. But it's overtaken all fossil fuels now, which is just brilliant. And, we're a step on the road. Labour have this super ambitious target of 100% green power on the grid by 2030. And that's just 5 years away now. There's a lot of work to be done. But we're making progress. I think China's making more progress. I'm just going to say that because we always hear that. What about China? It's doing really rather well.
Is there any country in the world that will have this amount of green infrastructure in place in 5 years' time?
Well, there are some countries now, I think there are about 6 of them, that are almost 100% green energy on the grid now. Venezuela comes to mind, and there's a couple of others. And of course, they're smaller than Britain is. Britain is a lot smaller than China is. And I wouldn't mind betting that China will, well, let's see. I'm not going to bet that. But look, so there are about 6. Venezuela is definitely one. And some of them are blessed with kind of natural resources like hydropower, like Norway is, for example. And that helps them a great deal. But it's been done, actually. It's been done already.
And number 5 on the list, I mean, this goes to the sort of bullseye of the point, not in a positive way. 2024 was the hottest year ever, and bad weather caused by climate change impacting more of us than ever before.
Yeah, we got wetter rain, didn't we? By which it's meant that the warm air holds more water, so the rain is 20% bigger. And of course, we're getting more intense falls of rain that's also bigger at the same time, causing flooding and stuff like that. I mean, flooding has become the new norm. Wildfires are the new norm, and some big ass storms as well. This is the climate crisis. This is climate change. It's real. It's happening right now. And as we said earlier, we've surpassed the 1.5 degree threshold 10 years early. We're on a highway to hell, as somebody once sang.
Why is it? Why is it then?
AC/DC, I think it was.
I think it was. Why is it though, Del, that if you look at what we're doing as a country, I know this is you've got to do these things globally, but if you just take us as a country, the kind of cars we drive, the way we construct buildings, the kind of materials we now use, the lack of coal, and goodness knows what else. I mean, we're in terms of green, we're unrecognizable from where we were 20 years ago. So many people, not unreasonably, ask the question, and maybe naively, how could it have got worse when clearly, demonstrably, most Western countries have got so much better?
Well, I think the carbon count in the atmosphere has continued to climb. Even though we've been emitting less carbon, we're still emitting carbon, and it's accumulating in the atmosphere. We're at 360 or 70 parts per million now. And I think pre the Industrial Revolution, it was less than half of that. And that's what's happening. It's a cumulative effect. And it means actually that getting to net zero, where our emissions are in effect zero, that's not enough. We have to get there as fast as possible to stop making it worse. But then we need to rewind. We need to get that carbon out of the atmosphere to get back to normal levels if we want to return the climate to something that we're used to. And that requires direct carbon capture from the air, which is part of the reason I invented Sky Diamonds, thinking that that might be a route to do that. But it isn't. It's not an economic way to get carbon out of the atmosphere to turn it into diamonds. But there are other things we can do. We're working on one in particular. It's called enhanced rock weathering, where you spread ground up basalt onto agricultural land, and it improves the crop yield, and it locks carbon into the soil, and it does away with the need for artificial fertilizers, which are made from fossil fuels as it happens. So it's a wonderful way to drag carbon out of the atmosphere, lock it into the ground, grow food more effectively, and knock fossil fuel fertilizers on the head.
There it is. Let's hope that this time next year, when we do the look back at 2025, there were some positive headlines there, but I mean, work in progress, I guess, is the kind of mantra of the day.
Yeah, I think we're 6 months into a Labour government. I still think they'll be the greenest government we've ever had. In fact, arguably, they already are, but I think they'll go much further. They've got another 4.5 years to go. I think we'll see a lot more out of them, and that will help us set the tone for the rest of the world, or in the rest of the world as well. I mean, I'm just super positive about the whole thing. I think it's been a good year. We couldn't have had a bigger change than a change of government, and that enables everything.
Next week, we're back with normal service resuming, I guess. There's already a big old agenda building up. Have a great week, Del. We'll speak then.
Fabulous. See you then.
And of course, you can follow Del on social media, twitter.com/Delvince, facebook.com/Delvince, and on TikTok too.
We love that.